Hi, it's my first video, so I don't really know what to say. I mean, it's not like I have any fans to say hi to because I don't have any fans yet. So it looks like I'm just speaking to a camera, so it's kind of awkward for me. But I have a little interesting topic to go over today. I want to preface before I even get into any of it that the way that I found all this information, it was pretty standard. I just kind of looked up the topic and just scrolled through Google to find some interesting sources. But weirdly enough, all the sources that I can find, there were no first-hand accounts of this subject. There were only second or even third-hand accounts. So it's a little hard to get information correct. So if there's anything that doesn't add up or anything that doesn't align, I apologize for that. Just let me know, and I'll try my best to correct it. There's not much else to say, so let's just jump right in. Shin Au Av is the name used to refer to the kingdom of Shin Au Av, or the Paiute legend of an underground afterlife beneath Death Valley. Stories of heaven and hell, demons, and all sorts of paranormal entities spring up around this legend. Today we're going to dive into the story and legend of the city, so let's get right into it. Poking around the internet, there were a few sources that all had the same exact story, so I'm just going to read that off to you. According to legend, thousands of years ago, an important Paiute chief lost his wife. Devastated, the leader was so overcome with grief and sorrow, he began to think that life without her was not worth living. He soon decided to take his earthly body into the land of the dead. Following the trail of brave Indian spirits through endless underground passages, the journey was long and difficult. As he traveled, he was besieged by evil spirits, fierce beasts, and supernatural demons. Finally, though, his brave journey was rewarded by glorious sunlight at the end of the trail. But he had yet one more ordeal, crossing an extremely narrow rock bridge that arched over a bottomless canyon. But he could see the beautiful green meadows of the spirit land across the way and determinedly made his way across safely. Entering the great kingdom ruled by Shin Au Av, he was welcomed by a beautiful maiden who was the daughter of Shin Au Av. The princess took the hand of the brave chieftain and led him to a large natural amphitheater. There, the chief looked upon thousands of dead and happy Paiute dancing in a circle. Though he was no doubt pleased to see that the dead were happy, he bemoaned, "I will never find my wife in the crowd." The princess promised him that he would, and instructed him to sit at the edge of the circle, watching until his wife would pass. She then left him momentarily, returning with food and drink to make him comfortable. When she returned, she left him with one more directive. "When you see your beloved wife, carry her off quickly without either of you making a backward glance. Then travel back the way you came." The chief agreed and sat patiently waiting to see his wife dance by. After several days, he saw several people he had known in the past, including friends and enemies, but had not seen his beloved wife. Just as he was beginning to despair, he saw her approaching late on the third night. He ran to her with his arms spread wide, grabbed her, and the two left the valley hand in hand, moving towards the ribbon bridge that crossed the great chasm. But for all his bravery and determination, the chief risked a quick look back at the beautiful valley. And in that moment, he was suddenly standing alone. At the end of the day, he made his way back to his people, where he spent the rest of his life telling the story of the wonders and beauty of the kingdom of Shin Au Av. And thus, the legend was born, passed down from one generation to the next for years to come. That's the most common story associated with the kingdom of Shin Au Av, which, by the way, I'm sorry if that's not how you pronounce it. I'm probably butchering it, but I don't know. If there are any Paiute speakers who can tell me the actual pronunciation, please let me know, because I don't like being ignorant. Thanks. However, there are many more stranger stories that are not as commonly told. For instance, the origin story of the kingdom, as told by monkeyindelf.com, claims that serpent people were responsible for this and multiple other underground cities. However, I have not seen many other accounts of this theory. Also, according to monkeyindelf.com, the Paiute legend states that Shin Au Av was founded when Shin Au Awakates, again, probably butchering it, a young god, was asked to carry a sealed bag across the desert, a task he accepted. While on his journey, he got curious. Do you want to be in the video? Do you want to be in the video? It doesn't look like you want to be in the video. While on his journey, he got curious of the contents of the bag, and so he decided to open it. When he did so, the contents of the bag, all the residents of the soon-to-be kingdom of Shin Au Av escaped and ran towards the mountains. An elder god, furious with Shin Au Av's, started an argument with him, the very sound of which scared the horde of people into underground tunnels, where the kingdom of Shin Au Av was founded. Alright, you can go now. Really quickly, before we go any further, I want to give you a word from today's sponsor. Me! I'm today's sponsor. I'm the only one who's been putting any money into this, obviously, and I gotta say, I've already put probably a couple $100 into the setup that I have here, not including the brand new computer that I got because my old one, which is sitting right over there, got a little too slow for the research that I was doing. So if you think that I've been doing a good job with this so far, and if you like the content that I'm making, and if you want to see more, I would really appreciate a like and a subscribe. Especially as a new creator on YouTube, it really does mean a lot. So if you think I deserve it, please hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. Thanks. Anyway, back to the video. While there are many different stories or explanations behind the origin of Shin Au Av, the question in my mind when reading all of this is, does it exist? There are also more modern accounts of finding the city. However, most of them that I can find on the internet are second or even third-hand accounts, as I said before, so take all of this with a grain of salt. In 1932, a prospector named Bork Lee published his book, Death Valley Men. In the book, Lee writes about the various tales, stories, or legends surrounding Death Valley. Particularly, he tells the story of two men, Jack and Bill, who were exploring the Panamint Mountains in Death Valley. There, one of the men fell through an opening into the old mine shaft, after which the other one soon follows. Through that, they discover a natural cavern spanning over 20 miles. At the end of the cavern, or at least where they stopped exploring, they discovered these unnatural rooms. Inside were perfectly mummified corpses with spears, treasure, artifacts, and a system of lights made by subterranean gases. That's a new one for me. The men take what they can and find their way out of the shaft, back to the mountains. They would later display their findings out for archaeologists. However, they were apparently all stolen, because of course they were. Jack and Bill then tried bringing in experts to the site. However, they were unable to find it again. The book Death Valley Men is actually pretty interesting because it provides a little bit of a different story. In the chapter called Paiute Lore, Lee mentions Paiute spirits, gods, underworld, etc., including a place called Naguntuwip. Again, I'm sorry if that's not the correct pronunciation. Just that's how it's spelled, so that's how I'm reading it. Which, according to Lee, is one of the many places that Paiute spirits would go after the body dies, according to legend. It's written that Naguntuwip is located at the end of an underground tunnel or cavern that has multiple trials and tribulations, witches, evil spirits, and other creatures or entities for the Paiute spirits to overcome. After that, they enter the land ruled by Shin Au Av, a Paiute god-like being. See, it all connects. It's all there. While searching for information on the topic, I found multiple other stories of people finding these underground tunnels and rooms, most of which were pretty similar in detail. One such story follows a prospector named White, who discovered an underground system of tunnels, perhaps the same as in Bork Lee's story, and found at the end mysterious remnants of a former society or civilization. He returned a number of times with his wife and a fellow prospector named Thompson. Upon hearing the news of the prospector's discoveries, a Paiute Indian man named Tom Wilson spoke out and told his own story. According to Wilson, his grandfather found similar subterranean tunnels, except after searching for some time, he found a tribe of pale, unrecognizable people who rode horses, spoke another language, ate strange foods, and were illuminated by yellow lights, presumably the same lights found by prospectors years later. Lastly, there's the story of Dr. F. Bruce Russell, a physician, and Dr. Daniel S. Bovey, his colleague. These men discovered, you guessed it, a series of underground tunnels beneath Death Valley, similar to the aforementioned stories. However, this one's a bit different. These two men found mummified corpses 8 to 9 feet tall. They described the clothing on them as being inspired by Native American or Egyptian design and made of an unidentifiable sheepskin-like material. Hieroglyphs, which easily could have been mistaken for Native American petroglyphs or pictographs, were found etched into the wall. The men found an alleged ritual hall with the bones of dinosaurs, tigers, and elephants scattered around the room. However, it's suggested that maybe they were the bones of saber-toothed tigers and woolly mammoths, but who cares? Dinosaurs are cooler. There were also more artifacts and treasures around that same area. According to Howard Hill, the man who reported the story for Russell and Bovee, the reasons for which I will get to in a minute, the tunnels covered over 180 square miles of underground land beneath California and Nevada. To try and profit off of this find, and since no right-minded archaeologist was going to launch a geological survey based on some crazy physician's findings, Dr. Russell launched his own company, Amazing Explorations Incorporated. As he headed back to the site, presumably for professional reasons, Dr. Russell went missing, never to be seen again. His car, however, was found in the middle of Death Valley with a busted radiator months later. Oh, and by the way, if you were curious why there aren't more modern stories on the subject, like stuff from the past few years or past couple decades, it's because the area surrounding the alleged entrance is now owned by the military as a part of the China Lake Naval Weapons Center. So, that's fun. While there may be so many different views and stories about Shin Au Av, the main message remains clear. Underneath Death Valley lies a system of tunnels, all which have connected accounts, stories, and legends relating to or regarding Shin Au Av. And that's that, everyone. Thank you all for watching from the bottom of my heart. As a new creator, every little interaction means a lot. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them in the comments section below, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. I'll also leave links to all my sources in the description, so if you're here for your own research or you're just here to find some sources, there you go. Have a great day, everyone, and stay safe. Bye.